Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. I have King Randall here with me today. How you doing, King Randall?
I'm doing excellent. And yourself, sir?
I'm doing great. Happy to have you here today. It seems a little bit of everyone around the world wants to talk to you about the things that you've decided to do with your life. And I'm very happy that you were able to make time for us here on America's Next Motivator tonight.
Man, I'm glad to be here. I'm absolutely happy for the opportunity. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. We're going to hop right in. I want to say to everybody, whether you are tuned in from Roku TV, Apple TV, Android TV, Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Fire, we appreciate you. Each and every time you tune in, feel free to drop the comments, put the emojis in the building, and let us know that you're here with us. Without further ado, King Randall, where are you from?
I'm from Albany, Georgia, born and raised in Southwest Georgia.
Wow, Albany, Georgia. Okay, where is the closest big city that people might be familiar with?
Atlanta, which is about 2.5 hours away.
Okay. Now, what was it like for you growing up in Albany, Georgia? What did it look like? What did it sound like? What did it feel like?
Well, life was pretty interesting growing up. Albany at one point was the 4th poorest city in the whole United States.
Really?
I grew up, I grew up in the hood, and Albany, Georgia is also still listed on one of the top 10 cities and the worst places to live. So it's it's been interesting growing up here, but I made the best of my circumstances. Had a great mom, great stepfather, great men in my community that helped me, to become the man that I am today. Speaking of foster care, my mom has been a foster parent ever since I was in the 3rd grade. She became a foster parent. So I interacted with I had a lot of siblings, if you would say.
Right.
So I'm my mom's only child, but she did foster care growing up, with me. We had so many different children that we, came into contact with. So my childhood was nice. My mom, took care of me. And we took care of some of the kids in the neighborhood. We took care of foster children, and we had a lot of men in our lives, growing up. And I believe those men are, what made me, the man I am today.
Absolutely. You said that your mother began to take in foster kids when you were in the 3rd grade, and that those children were your siblings. First of all, I appreciate you for acknowledging that and terming it that way, because they are your brothers and sisters. For those people who don't know, for those people out there who don't know, I spent years of my life in foster care as well. And so it's something that is near and dear to my heart. It's one of the reasons why this show exists. Foster kids, young adults, people growing out of the child well-being system, they need examples of the lives that we live and how we move into effective adulthood, the same way King Randall is doing. Now, before your mother began to have other kids in a home, what was your life like? Do you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just this regular kid. And what's interesting is my mom, before she did foster care, my mom was actually taking care of some of my older cousins, who were teenagers at the time. They're adults now, but they were taken care of by my mom. They stayed with us. Their mom was deployed, and she was in the Army. So some of my cousins were my siblings as well. My mom's always been taking care of other people's children, so she thought it was right to do foster care as well. But I went through some things growing up. I was molested as a child. I was about 2 or 3 years old by my god sister. Whenever I go to my godmother's house, so that happened to me. But I just moved on, and I kept going. I know a lot of people sometimes will allow those things to kind of, mess up what's going on in their today lives. But, that's
Right.
something I believe, we have to move forward from and, get you some therapy, get you some counseling, and keep it moving. I definitely feel like we shouldn't allow those things to kind of hold us down and hold us back from what we're trying to do in our lives. I believe we can use those things as, a step up, because I do believe, some of the worst things happen to the best people, and I believe the hardest tests come to people with the biggest responsibilities.
100%. I agree with you that our experiences are like little increments of energy that when you process them, they add to your star power.
Right.
And some of those of us who've been through the most are outright stars walking amongst us. A star is not always someone who's on the front page of magazines, creating records, or in Hollywood. A star, a bright star, is simply someone who's processed a lot of experiences and place that energy amongst all the other experiences, and they're a reflection of that. And so I agree with what you're saying 100%. Now, when your mother began to bring foster kids into the home, how did that elevate your experience? How did it impact your world?
Well, it was, different, getting different children whom I've never met before, whom have had different experiences, who are older than me, who have been through many things. Some we had great experiences with, some we had bad experiences with, but it's all a part of that process. So some of them I still, talk to this day, some I don't. Some of them, come back after a while, like some of the teenagers at the time, when I was still in single digits, they're adults now, and they come back and find me like, "Hey, King, you remember me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I remember you." So and a lot of them still reach out to my mom, because my mom was a really, really good foster parent. She's really good to the children, and a lot of them, never ever wanted to leave, even though they had to sometime, which is why my mom stopped at a point. But she just started back maybe about a year ago, and so she has foster children now. But that's kind of my mom's passion. She loves, working with and helping children. So a lot of these children, they always, come back to my mom, and talk with her, etc. And a lot of them are adults now. And my mom, still talks with them, and, talks to them, and motivate them and encourage them, etc. In their lives. So yeah, it definitely impacted my world a whole lot. Just getting different children, even children of different races. Having white siblings for over a year and a half. It's
Wow,
three different siblings, who were white, at my house, so it
that's
was
right.
pretty interesting. And then having to defend them and stuff like that, being at all black schools, almost being like the only white kids at school, so it was
Right.
pretty interesting, but it was all good. I developed a brotherhood with, the boys and their sister, etc. So, I still talk to some of them to this day, but the experiences helped, shape me and help me be grateful for what I had. Because a lot of children aren't able to be grateful because they don't know that other children don't have things.
That's right.
So it helped me be grateful for what I had, because hearing about their stories and seeing the things that they went through growing up in the foster care system, it just made me be grateful for the mom I had at home.
That is huge. What do you say to young people growing up in a foster care system today who they may have not met a mother like yours yet. They may not have met a brother like you yet, and they could use a word from you tonight. We've got 444,000 youth in the foster care system. My perspective is that the general community do not know enough about the foster care system and what's going on there. And there
Mhm.
are a lot of young children, men, young men and young women who need to hear from us. What do you say to them tonight?
Oh man, I mean, I could go 2 or 3 hours, talking to them about different things that I believe they should hear,
Right.
especially, actually seeing what actually happens in the foster care system, and seeing some of the things that these children go through, and hearing some of their stories. I mean, it's almost like you can't even really find the words to say, because just hearing some of the
Right.
horrible stories, and you can't really do anything about it. It's just, I mean, all you can tell them is to push, and push through, to the end. Don't close your mouth, don't shut your mouth. You speak your piece, and make sure you telling if something's happening to you, etc. Don't let anybody scare you and tell you not to tell, etc. Because I know there's a plethora of things going on with our children in the foster care system that need to be talked about, and it's upsetting to hear. So I definitely believe our children, should hear that. Open your mouth. Don't be afraid to say what's going on. Don't let
That's right.
anybody, tell you that something's going to happen to you if you tell or whatever. You make sure you say something, because somebody is out there that does care and that does love you. There's somebody somewhere that does. Even if you need to hear it from me, I love you.
That's
So
right.
please make sure you're being open and opening your mouth and telling people what may be going on in your homes, and keep pushing.
Did you have conversations with your mother about your destiny as an adult? Did you have conversations about your future, or were you sort of a natural visionary someone who just simply cared about other people, or both?
Well, I had conversations with my grandmother actually about what I was here to do as a young child.
Wow.
A lot of people don't. Well, I'll say a philosopher that I know has said that a child will show you or tell you what their purpose is by the time they turn 7 years old, and it's up to the parent to make sure they're incubating and fostering that purpose. If you pay it any attention, so I told my grandmother as a youth that I was here to finish what Dr. Martin Luther King started. And when I was having this conversation with her, I was about 3 or 4 years old. I still remember the day we had this conversation. I still remember the stop sign we stopped at. We were in the car. My grandmother had a green Lexus. It was like a 1994 Lexus. And we stopped there on South Madison Street. And I was in a gray car seat. I remember the full conversation. And I told her, well, the first thing I asked her was, did she know how it was to have butterflies in her stomach? And I don't know where this conversation came from. Because I don't remember what happened that day. Maybe we watched a Dr. King video at school or something like that, because I was still in pre-K, so I wasn't sure. But she kind of stopped the car and was just like, what you mean, you hear, what do you know about Dr. King, etc. And
Right.
my whole life I was rebellious towards what I told my grandmother, because my grandmother would remind me of that purpose all the time. She'd always say, don't forget what you told me when you were younger. And my grandmother's a pastor, and she's very spiritual. So she's always, like, that was nobody but God, telling you that. And, growing up, I'm just like, Grandma, leave me alone. I was a kid. We probably watched a Dr. King video or something. I mean, my grandmother and I have argued about this, a lot. And so, fast forward through my life, I went to culinary school, graduated there.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
This is powerful. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're tuned in right now, we're talking to King Randall, and he had an epiphany that he would finish the work of Dr. Martin Luther King. If you're in the building right now, I want to appreciate you. I see Yolanda Riley's in the building. Chastity Curry's in the building. Hello. You told your grandmother that you wanted to finish the work of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I wonder if when Dr. Martin Luther King passed away, his spirit, his soul went out into the universe, because we know energy can't be created nor destroyed, only transferred. And
Right.
Certain children, certain people were visited by the spirit or soul of Dr. Martin Luther King. You seem to be one of those individuals who was visited by the soul and spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King. And I relate you to a lot of people when you say there was some turbulence in your life, when you got off track possibly, or you had some adversities. Your conversation with your grandmother reminded you that you told her that you wanted to finish the work of Dr. Martin Luther King. What do you say to the young people who are in that period of life right now where things look kind of raggedy? You're not perfect. You're not in your final form, but there's still a destiny and calling on your life. Speak to them.
Absolutely. I always tell, a lot of children that, that you're here for something. And whether sometimes people's purposes are not, fulfilled because of different things that may happen in their lives. And a lot of children feel worthless because of many different things that, possibly happen, and or not being academically inclined, etc. Via going to the school system, and they're not providing opportunities for children, who may not, be interested in the book work, but may be better at working with their hands. So a lot of children feel worthless and feel like they're not here for anything. But you have to try things in life, and it's a cliche quote, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
And one thing I do with the children that I work with, one of the biggest things I do, my manager has a snake. He has a pet snake. And most humans have a deathly fear of snakes because of what we see on TV or what we hear, about snakes, et cetera, et cetera. So the boys in my program are to break their fear. The first thing I do to break their fear is go make them hold a snake. And of course, having this thing with them, taking them there, they're just like, oh my God, I'm not, they're crying and et cetera. I'm like, hold the snake. And so they finally hold it, and they're just like, oh, like it's like a relief just drops over them. I'm like, you want to keep your bearing, around these things. You want to understand that some can kill you, some can, etc. But you want to make sure you understand that you hold that snake that's in your life. You can't allow that fear, to destroy you. You know, and just now, you know, watching them now, they'll go over there, they're picking up the snake, they're going in the cage and playing with it, you know, etc. Because it's a nice animal. It's not like mean or anything. But you know, but the stigma that they give, you know, the snake. Even I had the fear of the snake. You know, with my first time going there, he was like, "Nah, you gotta hold it, bro. Just hold the snake." And I finally held it, and it's like, now it's just something I can play with. You know, I go visit. You know, but it's something I do for my boys to make them understand that you can beat fear. Like you can beat a fear that you have. You know, and so children are sometimes scared of, you know, moving forward, or scared of doing something, or scared that somebody might pick on them, etc. I'm just like, go hold the snake, you know, and it's okay. Make sure you hold that snake in your life. You got to press forward. You got to keep pushing, because even though if you don't have any obstacles, then you're not moving. So you definitely want to move, because obstacles are definitely going to pop up, and you want to make sure you get past them, because most obstacles are just optical illusions.
That's right. First, I would like to say that there are many different types of intelligence, and our young people, and I'm being universal here in this particular juncture, are put up to the test of one type of intelligence, whether it be writing, math, science, physical fitness, within the academic paradigm that we use here in the United States. But there are other intelligences that we possess. And so I want to raise awareness tonight that while school as we attend it right now, it might not be your main pocket. It might not be the thing that you're the best at, but that doesn't make you inferior in any way. It doesn't make you less than. And just know that there are other areas of intelligence that aren't accounted for in school, but that we're accounting for here on America's Next Motivator. And so relationship building skills, visionary. Some people know how to read other people. Some people have a sixth sense, if you will. Some people are able to project, you know, their own future. Some people have a resilience and a confidence that can't be taught. All of these are forms of intelligence that we are just naturally born with. And so know that you are still extremely valuable, even if school isn't your number one strength, right? The other thing you spoke about is fear, and I want to talk about that fear because we do see that in our communities, especially if you grew up without a father, or if you didn't have the appropriate rites of passage growing up, that you can be overwhelmed by fear. There are young men and there are young women in America today who are fearful. They're fearful of the life that they're living. They're fearful of what the future holds. And they're fearful about taking initiative in their life. So the fact that you said, listen, I'm going to have this snake. I want you to hold the snake as a way of addressing fear is powerful. There is fear in our communities. Fear is a big elephant in the room of our communities. And it's something that we need to get out in front of. What are your perspectives on fear and how we can deal with them beyond holding the snake, which is a great way, by the way?
Well, I have a phrase that I came up with. I gave a speech at a commencement, maybe about almost 2 years ago now. And I gave this speech, and I gave an acronym for fear. And I said that it means face everything and recover. And so I have shirts out now that says face everything and recover on our website, theexforboys.org. And that's something I wholeheartedly believe in, facing everything and recovering. That's just something, you know, I believe everybody could subscribe to and believe in. We have to understand, you know, you have to face everything. That's something, you know, I believe in, facing fear. Because we weren't given the spirit of fear, but the power of strength and a sound mind. I think that's a scripture. Don't quote me. But but I believe, you know, wholeheartedly in that. I believe, you know, we have to understand that I think a lot of us, you know, deal with fear based off of what society gives us to be scared of. Because most people, you know, you're not really scared of something. You're scared of what society's told you about it. You know, like even like snakes. Again, I'll go back to the snake. Most like snakes or cats or whatever like that, most animals aren't even like just naturally aggressive and stuff like that. They're not, you know, nobody's saying, you know, don't, you know, have wisdom in dealing with the animals. However, most of those animals smell fear. And so animals can tell when you're scared of them. most animals have a natural fear of the human, whether that be an elephant or an ant. But the moment they realize that you don't know who you are, because God gave us dominion and power. Elephants know what a human is. An ant know what a human is. So from the elephant to the ant, they all understand that if you're scared, they can overpower you. Even a dog, like you can go find the most vicious dog you can find, but the moment they smell or sense any fear on you, they're going to attack. But if you stand there like, yeah, you about to stop, I'm not scared of you or whatever, they're not going to attack. That's just how that works. I'm like, every animal has a natural fear of the human because of the dominion God gave us, but that's if you know who you are or not. And that, because even with how they teach you how to defend yourself against a bear, they always say make yourself look big, scream loud, etc. Now this bear is I don't know how many times the size of us, but if you tell me that the way to defend myself against a bear is to not be scared, make noise, look crazy or whatever, and they'll leave. It's happened before. However, if you show any ounce of fear, they will attack or whatever because you don't know who you are. So I'm just like, you must understand, who you are as a person and face all of your fears. I mean, again, like sometimes people are scared to ask for things. I'm just like, why are you scared to ask? The worst they can say is no. It's kind of like, us when we were building shopping for our school. We looking at gigantic buildings and we ain't even got the money for them. But you call and ask anyway. The worst they can say is no. And we have some big boy faith to make it happen. So I definitely believe, just take all of those shots. I mean, so what? You may miss a few, but you may make some. But if you would have never shot the shot, you never know if you would have made it or not. So as long as there's no, I guess, risk in, some of the shots you take, and some of them will be risky, but you got to take shots. I mean, you can't, keep yourself held down based off of being scared of what might happen to you if you get turned down or just worrying about what people think about you, etc. I mean, all of those things. I mean, I can go on all day about fear, but I definitely feel like you should face everything and recover.
You said that sometimes, in a lot of cases, fear is a result of lack of understanding of identity.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have conversations with people? Did you take courses? Where did you learn about your identity in a way that helped you to gain better confidence?
I had men in my life. I had my former stepfather. In my neighborhood, we had about 4 men all together in our neighborhood. We had my stepfather, or my former stepfather, the old deacon behind our house named Deacon Bogan. We had the truck driver across the street named Mr. Silas, and we had the brick mason down the street named Mr. David. Now, nobody went perfect out of the 4. However, they all helped all the young men around the neighborhood. Deacon Bogan, to this day, if you go out to his house, he always cutting the grass. Everybody know Deacon Bogan, all he do is do his yard. Like anytime you go and see him, he out cutting the grass. So he's to have the guys come by and, hey, you come cut this grass or whatever. He'll, spank us sometimes. We're doing something, wrong or whatever like that, or put us in timeout. Then Mr. South across the street used to drive trucks. Whenever he used to come home, he used to discipline, the kids were down the street or whatever if they were doing something. Mr. David taught us how to, lay bricks and things like that. He taught us how to, make brick mailboxes and things like that. Mr. David was on crack, but we all, again, everybody had their little issues, but it was okay. Yeah. That was our neighborhood. Right. My stepfather, he used to paint cars. We used to use our garage to paint cars, and we grew all our own food in the backyard. So, we grew everything. We used to give food to people around the neighborhood. We had all types of fruit trees. We had animals. We had chickens and our own eggs and stuff like that. When we wanted food, we went and picked it from outside. So all those men, that I had in my life growing up, my grandfather, my uncles, etc., all the men together, created this young man you see before you. All of them played a different part in that, and of course, a little studying that I did on my own, but all these men played a different part in creating who I am on today. And a lot of boys are literally missing complete, like having no male figures in their lives at all. And that's a big issue because sometimes I deal with boys and they'll come to me and they'll change, really quick. Not everybody changes overnight, but some of them change really quick. And their mom's like, what happened? I'm just like, well, he's never had a man around him before, or I'll bring male instructors in and, we'll talk to them, mentor them, teach them, discipline them, etc. And these children are changing, very quickly. And mom's like, well, what couldn't I have done? I'm like, Mom, it's just like, even with my 2-year-old son, his mom will fuss at him all day. She'll spank him. His grandmama will spank him and everything. I can look at my son and he will stop whatever he's doing in his tracks. I can just look at him. And that literally just shows how important the male is in a young boy's life. Like I watch it to this day. Like my son's 2. His mom will tell him 10 times, stop doing that. I will go and look at him and not say a word, and he'll stop. But and I don't even spank my son. They'll do all the spanking. I don't thump him or nothing. I just look at him, and he'll just like a certain fear comes over him. He's just like, nope, let me stop. So it's just that's kind of how that works.
The man has a unique role to play in the development of our personalities and the development of our community at large. And so we have to connect some of these dots as we look at what's going on as time passes. We have to look at this and say the man has a specific role to play. And if there aren't enough men playing that role, then that's the demise of our communities. And so we need men, young and old, to step up to the plate to fill in, because it's a tragedy for someone to not only grow without a man, but never even come into contact with the knowledge, the wisdom, the provision that a lot of solid men carry. It's a tragedy. And so, I definitely see a lot of power, a lot of value in what you do. The man, the black man in particular, has a very important podium that he needs to step up to. And there are people who don't want to exact the black man when we talk about elevating communities, especially the African American community. But I am exacting the black man to step up to the plate and provide models of leadership and manhood to other young black men. It's upon us to do this. And so I commend you. Did you ever discover the history of African Americans in this country, the history of black people in general, and did it ever add to your confidence as a man?
Well, I'll go back to what I was explaining earlier about me finding out my purpose, and then I'll kind of tie into this question. So once I got older, I told you I was being rebellious against my grandmother about what she was telling me, and I went to culinary school. I graduated with associates in culinary. I went to the Marine Corps. But my grandmother, this entire time, she'd always keep saying, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care where you're going, what you go to college for, etc. Some of my Marine Corps boot camp letters, my grandmother is writing in those letters. Don't forget what you're actually here to do. I don't care about you going to the Marines, etc. She's saying, you're here to do this. So I finally, when I came back home and I went to Atlanta for a little bit, I did a lot of studying on Dr. King. I did a lot of studying on who he was, what he was about, listening to speeches, reading books, looking at FBI files. I mean, you name it. I was looking at some of everything, trying to figure out what exactly was this man, what did he do that he, what did he finish? So I was researching, and I get to Dr. King's memorial. I went to his gravesite. I went to the museum. I'm just in there searching for answers, etc. I'm just like, I have no clue what's going on in here. So I walked through looking at all the newspaper articles, etc. And I went to the room where it's the carriage that carried his casket through the city. The carriage is in there, and on the walls in that room, they have all the headline newspaper articles from when he was killed. And one stuck out to me from the Pittsburgh Courier, April 20th of 1968. And the headline said, "Will New King emerge?" And that's when I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing. Dr. King didn't train any replacements. And if you look at all of my social media handles, all of them say new emerging king. And so what I'm trying to do is to train all the replacements, that are supposed to come and take our place. Because sometimes I always say, well, what if Dr. King would have had some replacements? What if he was training some young men under him? What if Malcolm was training some teenagers, rolling with him all the time, etc.? Because you can kill them, but you can't kill the message if they've been training replacements. So I'm just like, man, what if Fred Hampton would have had some replacements? What if all those were training, youth, like real youth, not people, under them. I mean, like real youth, studying with them, rolling around with them, them talking to them, mentoring them, etc. So you can kill them, but you can't kill the message. One thing I love about, the Nation of Islam and Elijah Muhammad, he made sure to train thousands of replacements. So you can kill him, but then you got 1,000 other men that's gonna come say the same thing he said 100 times. So I'm just like, I definitely believe, that's something that, he missed out on. A lot of our civil rights leaders didn't train replacements. Nobody was there to, pick up the torch. So I definitely believe, that's what I'm, here to do, is to train replacements, which is why I work so hard, with the young men, because it's like nobody's there. Especially where I live, our program is the only rehabilitation program for juvenile offenders coming from the juvenile court system in Southwest Georgia. So a lot of these children, before I even began, these children were just going to jail and coming back, going to jail and going back. So these things were big issues to me. So that's kind of why I do what I do now. And me finding out our history, et cetera, is what made me start doing what I'm doing now.
It's so important that we pay attention to the decision that you made. I wonder how many people out there in the world, you're a productive adult and you're wondering, what is my deeper purpose in life? Drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever wondered, what is your deeper purpose in life? When I say deeper, something that is like truly impacting the lives of other people. Yeah, you can work your job, you can be successful at your job, but have you ever wondered if there was something even more impactful for you to be doing in the community? And if you can't figure that out, this is what makes your stories so great today. Is that what have our ancestors done, and how can you go and pick up that mantle and bring it back to today? This is a missing link in the equation of the success of a people and any people, is the work of the generation before, that we should go back and pick up that mantle and carry it forward.
Mm-hmm.
You are a shining example of what the majority of us should be doing. Even if you have embarked on your own mission, there's still room for you to go back and find an ancestor who was working on something whose work has not been continued. Go back and take an aspect of that and bring it forward. When we do that, then we bring about a particular advancement of our people. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking to King Randall. He is an emerging king. He looked around, he identified a deeper meaning to the information of our world, and here he is today. We'll be right back after this brief message, everybody. Don't go anywhere. America's Next Motivator. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator. Hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. King Randall, how you feeling out there?
I'm good. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. Now, you decided to develop an initiative of training other young men or other young people into productive members of society. Talk to me about the beginning of that mission. The name of it is the X for Boys, and what it's doing now. Talk about that.
Absolutely. With the X for Boys program, I started when I was 19 years old here in Albany, Georgia. After a string of different murders, etc., where I live, seeing some of my classmates go to jail, classmates being killed, etc., I decided to start this program simply because I've been going to many different meetings. Every time someone gets killed or something happens here in Albany, Georgia, there's this meeting that people, want to happen every time. And there's every time people go to the meeting, everybody have all these different philosophical points about what needs to happen, et cetera, but nobody's actually doing anything. So I decided to start an organization called the Extra Boys. I first started out doing field trips with young men. We went to Atlanta to the African American History Museum and the Center for Civil and Human Rights. Took them to these museums, and this was our first field trip. And to see our boys asking so many questions, to see them really want to move forward, to see them actually, pushing forward, to see them actually wanting to not be in their condition. That's kind of what pushed me and what motivated me to keep going. So I did more field trips with them. We went to Montgomery, Alabama, to the Civil Rights Museums there. We went to Birmingham, Alabama, and then I started doing workshops with the boys. A lot of the things that I grew up learning how to do, with my former stepfather was working on cars and houses. So I started out doing oil change workshops. I taught the boys how to change oil, brakes. We were doing water pumps, radiators, etc. Then I graduated into pushing them into doing construction work. We started working on houses and changing ceiling fans, changing toilets, you name it. These are the things that we were doing. And then the summertime came around, and other people were doing summer camps. And I was like, well, I like to do a summer camp, but I didn't have nowhere to do it. I had to do it out of my house. So I was like, well, I hope these parents, trust me enough to let me do a summer camp out of my house for these kids. And I was 19 at the time, but I had 20 parents that believed in me. So every day from 8 to 5, right here in my dining room, I had these children here every day. I had a small dry erase board, had some tables I got donated, and I made them a U. And I taught every day, here in my dining room. I taught them every day. We watched many different historical documentaries, etc. We was teaching them how to read. We were also doing these different workshops. I have 4 acres of land where I live, on my where my house is. So I taught them how to grow their own food. We grow watermelons, cucumbers. We're growing lettuce. I mean, you name it. Everything. We tried to grow squash. And the boys, were happy to see, that they were reaping the benefits of just planting something and watching it grow. It was so beautiful to see. But just to have all those children with me all summer, and for them to believe in me, enough to, want to come back, etc. It was a beautiful thing to see. Then, of course, after that happened, I realized, about 12 out of the 20 boys couldn't read during the program. Like, they couldn't read at all. This was an issue.
How old were they?
These boys were between ages 11 and 17. And I'm just like, how are you guys in different grades and you guys can't read? None of you are reading on your grade level. Some of you can't read at all. I'm like, how are you guys passing through school? Who's passing you guys through school? So this is an issue to me. So I started a book club. Every week we would read books with the boys. We would read books at our local library. Then the book club got a little bigger. So then we had to move down the street to a local business who would allow us to use her shop every day after she was finished working. So we would do book club there every day. We started reading Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper, and the book club got pretty full every week. So it was a beautiful thing to see, and we developed an 86% reading comprehension rate. During this time, I started working with children from the juvenile court system, and these children started working with me, and I started getting temporary custody of some of these children. These children also started having less issues. They started reading better. Their grades started going up. Our program has a 0% recidivism rate. Every child that's come to our program from jail has never been back. So these are different things I love to tout. So I actually still have temporary custody of 2 children right now that live with me at my home. But these children are actually changing. We're getting a lot of national attention, especially from our juvenile court system is noticing. And a lot of children are being, set to be sent to our program. So right now, we have a lot that's been going on. There are a plethora of things that I've done that I probably can't remember because we're always doing so much. But this summer, the summer camp will be, the boys will be building 2 houses. We're building 2 houses for this summer, just for the boys to get an experience building homes. I know a lot of teenage boys don't get a chance to say, oh, well, I built a house. So Lowe's will be sponsoring this project for us. Lowe's will be sponsoring the project for the boys. They'll be building these 2 houses. It'll be 2 teams of 20. So it'll be 40 boys. It'll be competitive. So the boys will get to, design their houses how they want to, etc. And then we'll have 3 celebrity judges come and judge these houses for them. But like I said, I think it's going to be beautiful for them We're going to give them scholarships. The team that wins is going to get a bigger scholarship, obviously. But I think it's going to be beautiful for our kids, beautiful for our city, and beautiful for our country to see, and the people that are looking at us around the world. But that's kind of an idea of who I am and what the Extra Boys is all about.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this episode, let's get some hearts, some likes, some emojis, some comments in the building for King Randall, because what he is doing is what so many of us should be doing. It's been the intention of our forefathers for us to go and fill this particular gap. We often look at businesses where we can work to get money. We often associate value with different types of jobs as opposed to the cultivation of people. There is nothing more valuable than the cultivation of people and the overturning of soil, of somebody who thinks, oh, my life isn't going anywhere because I don't have a father. My life isn't going anywhere because I'm in foster care. My life isn't going anywhere because I don't have positive examples. And then someone like King Randall comes in and the entire expression from you changes, because now you think that you can go out here and change the world. Lo and behold, you learn how to build a house. You learn how to grow food. You learn how to have healthy relationships. You learn how to communicate, all because of the initiative of someone like this gentleman here, King Randall. It changes the world. And so now you have changed the value proposition of Albany, Georgia. You've changed the overall standard of living in life where you live because you decided to cultivate the lives of others. And so now, where you probably could have made decisions to become a millionaire all by yourself, you have paved a way for a multitude of others to become millionaires. And when I say millionaire, I'm talking about the elevation of thought, the quality of the new choices you're going to make now that you've been a part of this curriculum, the quality of the life that you're going to build now that you've been a part of this curriculum. It changes the value proposition of your community. And that's absolutely, absolutely huge.
I definitely appreciate it.
100,000%. For the people who would like to donate to your cause or learn more about what you're doing, where can people go to learn more about what you're doing or donate to your cause?
Absolutely. You can go to the extraboys.org. That's THE, the letter X, FORBOYS.org. That's our website. Everything is there. You can go there and see all of our pictures and see different things that I've taught the boys over time. You can go there to see how to donate. You can go there to watch all of our videos, etc. You can go there to see a plethora of things about the Extra Boys, our upcoming events, how to volunteer, etc. And also our social media handles are on the website as well. All of our social media handles are at New Emerging King.
What does the X represent?
It means unknown. That's just kind of like in a math equation. You have to solve for X. Our motto is let us make man. And so we're teaching boys how to be men. We're solving for X.
That's right. I think that for years, there has been a fear of growing into manhood by a lot of us. And as a result of that fear, we also did not decide to build others. We also decided not to build young boys into men. And right. So if you ask me, while we have people who have gotten into this space, much respect to all of the people who have gotten into this space of helping boys turn into men. Much respect to all of you. But it seems like that has been a wide open market for far too long. And I'm happy that you're getting national attention for the work that you're doing, because it needs to be a mainstream narrative that's pushed, that we need to work on our young men. When you look out and you look at statistics or negative outcomes, and sometimes we sensationalize the negative outcomes. My thought is, well, where are the positive outcomes? Where are the folks who are working on these young men? Let's make that a mainline narrative as well. And so for you to step into that gap is huge. There is a whole market that you're tapping into. As the world moves into, crypto and artificial intelligence and all different types of new era stuff, you are also moving into a new era, a more natural era, a more organic era, and a more necessary era. if you ask me, which is remembering the young black boy who needs to be raised up, remembering the young black girl who needs to be raised up. When we do that, that's when we gain new value in our community. And so you are in the front of an emerging market, the market of growing young boys into men. It's okay for a young boy to grow into a powerful, intelligent man. That's okay. No one is stopping us from doing that anymore. What is the legacy that you intend to leave in the world? King Randall, what is your legacy that you like to leave in the world?
I just believe in working for my grandchildren. That's simply what I do believe in. I want to create a better lifestyle for the children that are be coming after me. After I pass away, how can I make life easier for the young men that I've come into contact with, as well as my children's children. I teach my boys that the biggest thing is to work for their grandchildren, because a lot of people don't ever tell them that, and they don't even think about what if, my granddad would have did something to make my life a little easier. Not saying your granddad didn't. Well, what could you do to make your grandchildren's life easier? What can I do to build generational wealth? How can I make sure they don't have to work as hard as I did? So I'm not necessarily just, the legacy I want to leave is just making sure that my family's has wealth and they are taken care of. Because I know one day, just as they do leaders, they got to put them on the cross one day, and they crucify you for no reason. So I always understand, I want to make sure that whenever that happens, if that happens, I want to make sure my lineage is okay. I want to make sure my grandchildren will be okay when King the Third gets here, when King the Fourth gets here. Their lifestyles are much easier than the one I had to live. So I definitely believe in working for my grandchildren. That's kind of the legacy that I believe in.
What value do you place on writing? And I'm asking you that because sometimes the legacies of some of our greatest, it's not written down. No one easily finds so many great legacies. It's one of the reasons why I created this show, is because I feel that the great legacies of people needs to be recorded so that it can be provided for the next generation. What value do you place on writing, and how are you documenting your journey?
Absolutely. Well, everything that we do, everything that I try to get done, is videoed. We try to make sure everything's recorded, everything's written down. I'm actually about to start documenting my everyday journey. I'm actually about to start writing down like what just happens, even in my normal day. Just every day, just writing. Even if I didn't do anything, if I just laid down and watched TV, I'll write down what I thought about that day. Every day I'm going to start writing different things about how I'm feeling, what I may be going through, etc. And then one day in maybe 5-10 years, I can release that and allow some children to look at how I developed and become who I am. I definitely believe that's important. Seeing as though I don't have like a lot of childhood photos and things like that. Like I have childhood photos, but my mom's just like, today she's like, man, I wish I would have thought more into that, with you growing up, because you don't have like a lot of, childhood photos, and that's something I don't like. She's like, I wish I would have took more pictures and did more videos. She's like, but I just wasn't thinking about it at the time. That's just something I wouldn't, just on her mind. So like even my kids all day, I'm just snapping pictures, taking videos all day, because those things are extremely important. You don't realize, how important those things are until you need them.
That's right. When we begin to notice, see, this is all about waking up. It's about noticing the value of sometimes things that's been right in front of your face the whole time. And in this instance, recording. When you realize the value of recording your life, your legacy, then you might not notice it at first, but your world is changing. When you begin to record, your world is changing, because if you were here today, gone tomorrow, there will be evidence of you for your children, for your family. And that segues into my next question. When you begin to do all this recording, you need space. You need space for all of these recordings. And then it necessitates a whole new view on life. Because if all of us started recording, which we should, use this hour on America's Next Motivator as an aha moment that I should be recording moments in my life.
Yep.
You're going to start needing space. And so eventually, we have to have this conversation about space, that it's it's not really okay for us to not acquire space. And when you look at young men today who they go to your seminars, they go to your workshop, they sit in the back of their classroom or the front of their classroom and listen to your lecture. But then you go home to a safe space. We got to think about space. Young women out here who they go to your workshops and they see you on the internet, or they go to your book signing, but then you go home to a safe space. What value do you place on the need and the importance of space for our young people as we teach them a new culture? To what extent do we need to create spaces where they can go and close the door and be a member of this culture that you're bringing?
The environments are extremely important. A lot of people always ask, why I believe it's important for the children to come and have stay with me temporarily. People ask why I want a boarding school. People ask why the summer camp is going to be overnight. All these things are extremely important because I have to remove them from their environments. These things are extremely important because sometimes their environments foster a lot of negativity. And sometimes I believe environments is the reason why they act the way they do. And some of my boys, who changed their lives, if you just ask them, they're just like, I was doing those things because that's all I knew to do. That's all I saw. And Mr. King came and showed me how to do this and, showed me how to do that. And I don't have to do those things anymore. And I believe environments and spaces is extremely important. Like sometimes the children aren't bad, it's just where they are. So they're important. Their environments and etc. Their spaces are important. We have to be able to have spaces and places for them to go and places for them to be, for them to make sure that they're developing in the best way possible.
You heard it right here on America's Next Motivator. Create a space. The challenge. We need to create spaces. That has to be more of our big idea, is to create a space. I was speaking to some men from Louisiana, specifically Little Rock. No, I'm sorry, not Louisiana, Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. And they believe from their life experience that you have no choice but to engage in some form of gang activity, or you have to be dangerous if you live there. You don't have an opportunity to just go to school and be safe and square, if you will. You got to be dangerous. And so if you don't create a space, then we have a world where people feel like they have no choice but to continue to perpetuate a devilish cycle amongst our people. And so for those of us who want to make a change, it's got to be at some point your big idea to create a space where these people can walk into this space and close the door and transform. And so I condone the fact that you want to create a boarding school. I condone your overnight efforts and immersive experiences for more than one day inside of a particular space, because without that space, no change is going to happen. People could be influenced by you for the hour, but if they're going back to a dangerous space, you're making no impact. So we have to lose the vanity that we showed up and we spoke eloquently to you. And we have to be more tangible. We have to create a space. And so when you have updates, this will always be a place where you can stop by and deliver those updates. I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think that you get it. I think that your aha moment was on point, is right, and it's exact. Keep doing the work that you're doing. And everybody out here, go out to their website, donate to their cause, and remember this young man right here, King Randall, the X School for Boys, because the work that he's doing is necessary. Now, as we move forward, what do you see as the next phase for your initiative? What's next?
Well, the opening of our school. We plan to open our school this fall. We had a few snags with our local school system. We were actually trying to purchase a school from our local school system, but things kind of went sideways with that. But we're still opening the school this fall. So we'll have updates coming on that soon. Just please follow us on social media. And every show that I end, I always say the same quote. It's from one of our hometown hero rappers. His name is Cantrell. He says, obstacles are optical illusions. They're not really there. Jump high anyway. Jump high just in case.
That's right. We're not done yet. I got a few more questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Some people, including myself, when we look at building spaces, we often think of creating an academic school. But what I also want your perspective on is the need to teach the other things, like you said, how to fix a car, agriculture, relationship building. All of those things need an actual institution as well. What do you think about that?
Yes, definitely. All those things need an institution because, well,
Yeah,
technical schools are extremely important, but those are mostly for adults. We need technical schools for youth,
that's
because
right.
a lot of these children do have a creative genius that they need to be molded. So I definitely think we need technical education for those youth, especially looking at technical schools and how much those jobs are paying. The technical school here has 100%, job rate. Like when the people leave, everybody's guaranteed a job once they leave the technical school here where I live. So I'm just like, why aren't you guys going to the technical school? Some of these jobs are paying $35 an hour, $42 an hour.
That's right.
And these are just you can get a certificate in a year. A certification in a year, and you can go and make bukus of money. So
That's
I'm
right.
just like, why aren't we fostering these environments, for our youth? Because this is where they could really survive instead of getting into debt, etc. And especially with these crazy college courses. I mean, some of these college tracks are useless. I'm just like, what job are they going to get, studying lamps?
That's
I'm
right.
just like, I'm being
That's right.
sarcastic, but I'm just like, what are these crazy tracks that they're going down? I'm like,
That's
son,
right.
you're not going to get a job in that. Why are you going to college for that? That
That's
makes no
right.
sense.
That's
So you
right.
can
Hold on.
graduate. Go
Hold
ahead.
on, hold on. We have another special guest in the building. He goes by the name Al Dees. Al Dees is another leader in the community. If you are on Facebook and you're part of that community, check him out as well, because he's a member of this change that King Randall is talking about. The change of men building other men. And we are condoning that energy today. We are normalizing it and we are appreciating it. Now I got 3 questions for you, King Randall, as we round third base here. I need you to answer all 3 questions within 15 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, get your crown emojis ready out there. My first question: what is survival to you?
Survival to me, uh, staying alive.
What is success to you?
uh, it's subjective. I definitely believe success is whatever you believe makes you happy.
What is greatness to you?
Greatness, subjective. Is whatever. That's almost the kind of the same to me as success. Because great doesn't always mean good as well. You could be a great bad person.
Right.
But I don't believe that greatness is always good. However, greatness is what you believe it is and what you
That's right.
think makes you great.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the building. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the building. Put your crown emojis into the building. King Randall, I'm letting you know that I've listened to your story today. I love the way that the conversation that you had with your grandmother resonates with what you've ended up doing in your life. I'm giving you your respect today while you're here with us, and I'm giving you your crown today while you're still alive to receive it. Ladies and gentlemen, put your crown emojis into the chat. We are letting you know, letting the world know that you, King Randall, you are America's next motivator.
I appreciate it, boss. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by today, all right?
Yes, sir. Have a good
All
one.
righty. Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Each and every episode of America's Next Motivator is going to have something here for you. All you've got to do is stop by and pick it up.